It's Wednesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Waike in the building.
Yo.
How you doing?
Good morning. I'm very fine, thank you. You know, the topic yesterday about the sudden death.
Yes.
The funeral I'm going to today, the guy, he went for a walk, came home. It was just about 61 and sat down. His wife was talking to him, got up, went to the kitchen, heard some noise. He'd gone.
So we really need
He's
to...
an active person because he went for a walk.
Yeah, he went for a walk.
Same thing that happened to RDG. RDG was just taking a walk and he slumped. We really need to bring Dr. Okoye because it was unfortunate that he had to be in Port Harcourt at the time. But we should bring him into Lagos because there has to be some quick CPR techniques we can learn that everybody in the home should have, especially when you have somebody in that age range. So it's going to happen between 30s and 40s now. We can quickly learn quick CPR, how to just revive it. Because he said the most important thing is to get air back to the brain. So that's what they're trying to do. That's they pump in the chest to get the air back to the brain. I mean, we just need to learn this thing.
Yeah. We do. And you know, I'm at that age now, so it's better I know.
Like he confess only good things.
Only good thing was I'm a realist.
Yeah.
And that's
That's the reality.
the truth.
You're right.
Meanwhile, NEPA brought their bill. We have not had light.
Okay, there's no way NEPA in this country.
71,000. That was their bill. And I think they dropped the bill. I didn't get it till yesterday.
At
they dropped the bill
Shrine.
on Friday. Then yesterday they brought disconnection notice. Can you imagine? It's kill. They want to kill somebody. They should just tell us that we should close our businesses down so that government alone
Just run it.
will run Nigeria.
It's really, really sad.
Abi?
It's sad.
Because they are making it almost...
I don't understand why
Impossible
Shrine
to
cannot
do
have a
any kind
meter.
of business.
Why is it difficult for Shrine to get a meter?
They say we can't get prepaid meter.
Well, it's something that really needs to look into. How are you doing, Nima?
Fine. So today I want to talk about my partnership with Dorcas Cancer Foundation. So I rarely talk about it, and I should talk more about it. So that will be most of my banter subsequently, because now we're looking to raise, we are projecting 10,000 children to benefit under the foundation for treatment. Children suffering cancers, childhood cancers, have the highest chances of survival. And it is also very important to detect it early. So a stage 4 childhood cancer can still be risky and difficult for us to do anything. So we had a meeting, and it seems like I'm not doing enough on my part to use my platform to get the help that we need. But we've tried. We successfully, we've had about 1,500 successful cases, but we are targeting it in 10,000, and we need funds for that. Dorcas Cancer Foundation is a credible foundation. You can check it out anywhere, and the people there will not chop your money and run away, because Nigerians have this fear.
Yeah.
I have had people who have gone to do their checks, and so we've had the website updated. My name is there. When I tell you I know it, I know it. And the money is for the treatment of the children. Everybody there is volunteering willingly to see that we give these children another chance at life. Please support us. Thank you.
How are you doing, Mariam?
I'm fine. I was watching a show that on TV yesterday, and it's a music show. You know those sort of shows that they come and they sing, and then the best singer wins at the end of the day. And I noticed that most of the songs that they were giving them were Oyinbo songs. Like, we need to do a little bit of...
And then the judges themselves are just entertainers.
Yeah.
Is it that one?
Yes,
Okay,
that one.
Is that one? Even me, I laughed.
And I was like, we need... When I watch the Oyinbo ones, they bring in their best stars, their biggest stars, and they help to judge them. They help to coach them with their voices. But on the Nigerian one, I think we just took style and just decided to...
Copy and paste.
We can localize it, and
It's a franchise.
I understand, but music right now is one of the best, most listened to music in the world right now. So what better time than now to push your talents to, sing these sort of songs and have this sort
all
of...
All those international formats always have their requirements. So I hear you, but because I mean, I've dealt with a few. We wanted to do one back when we were working High TV. So there's usually a lot of things you have to work within the criteria, the kind of songs they do. So, but I know that the ones they've done in the past, they've incorporated some of ours in the past. So I think eventually they will, but you're right. There are quite a number of foreign songs out there, and they should do more modification, at least so that to, because
Especially
you're right,
because
international
some of the judges,
community has
I'm
started.
wondering, how is this person going to judge this sound?
Yes.
This sound is
even
not, has never
even
been
the
done by
voice
the judge.
coaching, you see that we need to do more. Like people need to go to school for this sort of thing. I understand talent is good. It comes, you come out one day and then you become a star. But you always see the difference between those who go to the school and understand it.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on a break. But first, today is the birthday of one of our directors at TVC, the commercial director, Mr. Ronan Redmond. Happy birthday to Ronan. Many, many more happy years ahead. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we go through the front pages of the papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
All right, we're going to start with The Nation. Nigeria fails to meet OPEC's 1.78 million barrels per day quota. Confusion in PDP over plot to stop Atiku and Saraki Tambuwal. Akpanudo Edehe, APC convention plans on course.
That's good.
35 million Nigerians have no access to telecoms, says NCC Chief Dambata. UK suspends students' work and family visas for Nigerians. Incessant grid collapse, power outages and businesses. And gunmen kill 7 policemen, 11 others in the Bonny Kebbi, Niger State. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, Mikey, you want to start?
Okay, the UK, the United Kingdom, has placed a temporary suspension on study, work, and family visa applications in Nigeria. And they say the reason they're doing this is because they're giving priority to applications made under the Ukraine Family Scheme. I'm sure due to the humanitarian crisis, the war that's happening between Russia and Ukraine, they may be having a lot more applications from that part of the country, and so they are putting their focus on that part of the country and applications from there. So countries like, although they didn't mention other countries, so I don't know if this report is just highlighting Nigeria because this is Nigeria, but I was hoping to see what other countries have been put on this temporary suspension.
Right.
And they said that some of the visa applications, said the standard applications would take longer than usual. They will take 6 weeks, but all the others have been put on suspension, and they apologize for any inconvenience this may cause.
Okay, please, can I take the PDP story?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yes. There was confusion there in their meeting yesterday because in their meeting, sorry, not kidding, in their meeting yesterday because a very vocal governor from the south, they didn't say the name, was against against the people who left PDP to APC. Because according to him, it's them that cost them the loss of the election, the 2015 election. And when they all went to APC en masse, so they are defending themselves. And so he's talking about Tambuwal, Saraki, Atiku, and one other one. And he said that, so they defended themselves, saying, no, that the reason they left was because they were not giving them the chance. They weren't allowed to zone. Jonathan didn't allow them to zone. That's why they left. So, and that it is in the constitution that if you are a member of the party, you can vie for any position. Okay. So they shouldn't. So they've postponed the meeting till today. Dr. Messi was very upset at the meeting. I think when he spoke to someone, he said, you know, that this is the cause of the problem.
Okay, so talking about crisis, party crisis, the spokesperson, the secretary of the Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, that is CECP of APC, Senator John James Akpanudo Edehe, was saying yesterday that there's absolutely no trouble with their party, there's no crisis at all, that they have released a statement which will be made available to the press. And according to them, Buni is expected. Remember the crisis happening that they're saying that he shouldn't resume or he should resume. But right, according to the report, he's expected to resume today in the secretariat. And he says, let me just say that he's been away since February 28th. And the Niger State Governor, Abubakar Sani Bello, was acted for him, and they expect him in the office today. Now, Akpalo Dede was saying that the governing party is crisis-free, strong, remains united in giving the country the transformative leadership and good governance which she promised them. And people are just seeing what would happen afterwards today. Now, that I wanted to connect that to the fact that the nomination forms have been, the CECP, yes, have approved the sale of nomination forms for all the National Working Committee positions. And the aspirants for the office of deputy, the national chairman aspirants will have to pay 20 million. Aspirants for the office of the deputy national chairman will pay 10 million, while those aspiring for the other positions will pay 5 million naira. Very.
So, OPEC has released their March report, and they've said that Nigeria has continued to fail to meet its quota for production. So we're supposed to do about 1.78 million barrels per day, but Nigeria has not been able to do that. We've been doing around 1.4 per day. In January, we were only able to do 1.3 million barrel. February, we were only able to do 1.3 million barrel, and in January, we did 1.2 million barrels, so an average of 1.4 million barrels is what Nigeria has been able to do. And only two countries have been able to meet their own and even do more. That's Saudi Arabia and Libya are currently doing more barrels per day. They are meeting much more than their quota daily. But Nigeria and Equatorial Guinea in the OPEC Committee of Nations is not performing well.
All right.
And our Minister for Petroleum, the Oga Patapata Mele Kyari of NNPC says this is due to funding, that we need to fund production capacity. I'm sure he's talking something.
All right, let's move on quickly to the Punch. Buni's men tighten hold on APC. Ogun, Anambra, Kaduna, others fail to access the 33.6 billion naira UBEC funds. Lagos socialites gets 2 million naira bill for doling out fuel souvenir at party. Police protesters clash as truck crushes Lagos Okada rider passenger. Kebbi bandits invade Niger, kill DPO, 2 policemen and 4 vigilantes. Kogi carpets Lukman for attacking Bello NLC fault ex-PGF boss. Senate proposes airlines bailout. Operators insist on flight suspension. Amid fuel crisis, Nigeria's inflation hit 15.70% in February. And federal government will tap $2.2 billion Euro bond for fuel subsidy funding, says Minister. Okay, human interest, who has that story? I
have another human, not the truck driver. Okay. I have the pastor that was abducted.
Okay.
It was the bandits came into his church, and they asked for the pastor, and they took him away. They tied him up, and they made them walk. He walked through the forest. They walked through the forest for I think 2 or 3 days. Anyway, when 2 days, they got to they left on Saturday. So he said on Monday he was sleeping, and then he saw a vision of their founder, Apostle Ayo Babalola, in a vision. So that he just woke up, and as he just woke up, he just saw that all the bandits were sleeping. He said he just quickly strolled, and then he started to walk till he found himself in what town? Eruku, in a town in Kwara State. And then he could remember his brother's number. He called him, and that's how they came and bailed him out. So he's just thanking his God and thanking the operatives and thanking everybody.
That's
so
wonderful.
Very, very interesting.
Very interesting. Very, very lucky guy.
Very
lucky guy. I hope he will not go back to the church. Because they can come back now.
But it was the church
that led him out.
elder that appeared to him now and helped him.
Okay, yes. You should go back there.
Okay, so our Minister for Petroleum is saying that Nigeria would tap into a 2.2 billion naira Euro bond.
Let's take that story after the break. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. For the break, you were taking a story in Punch that I stopped you. Go ahead,
Before
please.
you go to that story, I beg. I need to, because you people did not understand when I said the man shouldn't go back to that church.
Okay.
Because the bandits will be looking for him.
That was what he was.
If they picked him from the church, they will wake up, they will see that he has gone. If he goes back,
That's why you said he shouldn't go back to the church. I
not
didn't
because
understand.
he shouldn't be grateful that the
God
pastor
saved his
came
life.
to him.
Okay. All right.
So
Lima.
Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, our Minister for Finance, Budget and National Planning, says that we are looking at borrowing from Eurobonds $2.2 billion this month or next month, money that we are raising to pay subsidy for PMS. And we're also looking at borrowing locally to shore off that money, but the essence of borrowing that money is to pay subsidy. Yes, and in the same Punch newspapers, our Bureau of Statistics is saying that our consumer price index rose. All of us know, and the consumables that they talked about was, price of gas, liquid fuel, wine, tobacco, spirit, narcotics, solid fuel, among others. Essentially, the basic things that we know were all that their prices went up, and they also said our inflation rose to 15.70%. Me, I'm just looking at this data that we're collecting and trying to see why it's advisable to continue to borrow for things that we cannot...
For subsidy.
We cannot, yes, for subsidy. So if we are borrowing to build the infrastructure, which the MD of NNPC Limited said, I would understand. But if we are borrowing to continue to further put cost and hardship and incur debt, I still don't get it.
Yeah, but if they try to borrow that money let's just imagine that money now, that 2.2 billion was taken to build refinery, and they don't pay subsidy. NLC will carry placard.
Hey, as it is now, they pay the subsidy.
So why is NLC not carrying? Why is NLC not carrying placard that they are taking 2.2 to come and pay subsidy? They should carry placard.
This one I agree with you.
So the NLC should carry placard.
I'm alone on my placard carrying this money.
So NLC, Ayuba Awaba should please object to $2.2 billion being borrowed to pay subsidy. Because in his own mind, he should understand that money is going to private pockets.
Be a woman attacking a woman.
Yes.
It's high time I think Mrs. Ahmed is not doing the right thing. She's sitting with one mouth at one time saying it's not okay for us to borrow. At one time, other time she's saying it's okay.
What if she's playing the gallery? Because that's what Nigerians want. She's playing the gallery because Nigerians will carry placard and home and kill her.
Not to our gallery, to the gallery of our appointees.
Because there was a time that they came out and they said that by June the subsidy will stop being paid.
The same people came for her jugular.
And then we heard
they came for her jugular. They said we didn't protect her. Yeah. We're like, we didn't protect her. Now we're accusing her.
They have always gone for the president.
So
she should advise
it's just complete mismanagement, because if they had removed subsidies...
Oh, Waiki, you always take us back. I'm talking about today.
I'm going to take you back.
We can't go back,
so,
Waiki.
Look, if you are borrowing money that you cannot pay back.
Obviously.
It is our children and our grandchildren that will incur this debt.
So she will tell you, Waiki, you are right. Now, she'll say, I don't want to borrow money because I won't pay subsidy. No, hang in there. Let's just assume you're in her shoes right now. You say, no, don't collect this 2.2 billion. How will she pay subsidy that NLC is carrying placard and she paying subsidy for?
The question is, has she ever told Nigeria it's not okay to borrow? That's the question. As the Minister for Finance and Budget, since I've known this woman, it's always been okay to borrow. It's just a problem of revenue. It's always okay to borrow. Always a problem of revenue.
How are you paying it back?
And the thing is not bringing results. This economy
oil has gone up. Listen,
it's not a hot topic.
It's not a hot topic. Let's move on.
Oil has gone up.
And I think
I must say this one. Because oil has gone up. We are suffering. We are producing oil, but we are suffering because we are importing fuel.
We say that in how many years? Okay, you said this thing 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We continue to say it. If you don't fix the problem, you say next 5, 10 years.
Because they don't fix the problem.
Let's move on, Jerry.
House of Reps is trying to fix one particular problem. So the House of Reps has urged the federal government to re-award the contract for dredging the Calabar seaport. And they said they should give it to a reputable company to do it. And they've asked the Nigerian Ports Authority to make sure that they supervise it and ensure that the standard depth is established to enable larger vessels berth at the port in line with international best practices, so that it will reduce the congestion at the Lagos port. But they also said that they are aware that the contract had been awarded in 2006 and 2014. and nothing has been done since then. So they named these companies. They said that the House is aware that in 2006, President Obasanjo's administration awarded a contract for the dredging of the port to Mr. Jan Dinol and Van Ord at the cost of $56 million. It was abandoned and left, nothing was done. In 2014 also, they are aware that President Goodluck Jonathan initiated the Calabar Channel Management JV situation. That one too was left abandoned. Okay. Nothing happened. So they are asking, let's dredge this Calabar seaport, make it an option for alongside Lagos State ports, but also investigate why in 2006 and 2014 monies were giving out for this contract and nothing happened.
Okay,
it is just the
same thing we're talking about. Okay, so the socialite, Miss Chidinma Ugbulu, aka Erelu Okin, has been arraigned before the Special Offences Court in Oshodi, Lagos State, yesterday for reportedly distributing petrol at her party for souvenir. She was arraigned for the court on 4 counts of bordering around conduct likely to cause breach of peace, endangering human lives by distributing combustible matter in the public gathering, intent to do harm to another, and unlawfully carrying on the business of storage and containerism petrol products. Well, I think she has recently apologized for what happened. Wasn't her intention, but then she was arraigned, and then she was granted a 2 million naira bail. The good thing is that the police seem to be on top of this, and they're taking the case. So we're seeing it start to finish. It's been adjourned to March 24th, which is going to then appear again in court to defend herself. But
it's good that
she's apologetic. Yeah.
Yes, I'm happy she's apologetic, but it's also good that we're making a case out of it, so that people will not have to, because what would have happened, that a lot of people will take it an example to do the same thing. And before you know it, everyone will be going up in flames, because that was a serious safety issue. Moving on quickly to Vanguard, energy crisis, OPS, NLC, reps, others won. Goes back to the fuel subsidy matter. Okada riders on rampage as truck kills 2 passengers in Lagos. Abba Kyari refuses to answer query by Force headquarters. UK suspends work-study visa applications in Nigeria to prioritize Ukraine. FG to tap €2 billion Euro bond from the 2021 Euro bond, says Finance Minister. 330 persons killed, 37 injured by armed herders in Benue local government, says Monarch. And we followed due process, got approval concerning the $195.3 million Deep Blue contract, says Amechi. Okay, which story are we taking in Vanguard?
Abba Kyari.
Abba Kyari.
So the detained police officer refused to reply a query from the police force headquarters. His only reply to them, they said they've written to him since he was in NDLEA custody. He received it and he refused to officially respond to that query. And he said to them that he cannot respond where he is right now. If he gets out of where he is, he will respond. But for now, he cannot respond. And he considered that, an affront on the force. The force is insisting that, he ought to know better than to not respond to that query, even though he's in the custody of the NDLEA. And also, the Federal High Court in Abuja has decided to strike out. They're looking at. They have also threatened to strike out his fundamental human rights action, which he filed for 500 million naira damages. And so they might just strike that out because, according to them, he has failed to establish.
Okay, so in the Vanguard had a documentary with some elders, some local leaders in Benue State, Makurdi. And in the course of this documentary, they gave information that, since 2011, about 390 persons have been killed in repeated armed Fulani headsmen attack in their communities. They said in Gwere West local government area of Benue State, they said about 37 injured. They gave names and a breakdown since 2011, the attacks, the homes that have been ransacked, and all the different things that they have suffered because of armed Fulani headsmen attacks. But they also said that these chiefs, as that the third-class chiefs, they said in trying to bring peace to their communities, they have asked that, the Fulanis are not allowed, the herders are not allowed into their communities, but the unit head pushed that aside and insisted that these people are allowed to come and that they should be willing to accommodate them. And for them, they feel that allowing them into their communities is what has caused this. And, you know, they're appealing to the government to mount blockades at entry points to, you know, protect them from armed headers coming in from Nasarawa states and all the other states. So, one, when we talk, I took the story because usually when we talk about these things happening, we usually don't say the names of the people. We move on, 2011, but these are people that have been able to document what has happened to them over the years. And I hope that this information means that they will take better security measures in protecting that community. That is not just numbers game, and we're just talking about
all right,
people.
we have to run out of time. I really want to take the story on the truck that happened.
Truck driver,
we might actually take one of our hot topic. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So yesterday, an accident happened in Lekki-Ajah Expressway that caused the death of 2 young boys. Now, this caused a lot of irritated youths around to burn the truck. Allegedly, what happened was that the truck hit these 2 young people. One of them was an Okada rider also. Now, a lot of bystanders had different accounts of what happened, and one of them was saying that the victims were alive for at least another 40 to 1 hour, and they could have, if they had been rushed to the hospital, they would have been alive. Another said police came around, soldiers came around, and they did nothing. Another said that they called for emergency services, and they didn't show up, and they couldn't reach to them. Others said that there was one Dr. Smile. He said some of the protesters attacked the policemen for shooting. People are angry. They're chasing the police into the Eleganza building. People just came and started shooting. Now the youths are repelling the police, as you can see. So there are different accounts of what happened, but there are a few questions to be asked. Who is to blame here? The truck driver? The police that started shooting? The ambulance services or the that didn't show up? The emergency service that didn't show up? Who else? The irate youths that started burning things? They just started, you know, getting angry as usual, getting the tires, trying to burn down the whole place. Who is at fault here? Or is it the regular bystanders who maybe just some walk past, some just stay to observe, record, and take pictures? So there are various angles to this conversation, and one of the things why we bring this kind of issue up is to know how to be better, do better next time. Sadly, 2 young boys have died. But how do Nigerians learn from these experiences where an accident happens? What's the first thing to do? Let's imagine the emergency service. We used to hear 121. And that was
112.
112. Is it 112?
Yes.
Yeah, 112.
112 for some years now.
No, so 112, you call the number
because something.
You know, it goes eventually, but sometimes it takes them time to get to where you are.
Morning
so what do we do in that kind of situation? Sometimes we need an expert, but in your own regular lives.
Most Lagosians have been reformed because the 112 was created. Instead of, you know, panicking at some accident scene, you see some people reasonably calling while other people are panicking and trying to help, self-help. They'll be calling these numbers. But the problem is who checks on the numbers and why are the numbers off sometimes or most times? Because I have had to call them in the past 4 months, and I called for a whole day. Imagine me calling from around 3:30 to 4 on my way back, myself and Alima last year. And it was until to 11, because I didn't stop calling, that somebody then picked and talked to me. And the person started attacking and asking me if I knew how the body was put there. And I was trying to call them to attend to. So this morning, as I was coming on the Apapa Worosheke Expressway, what I saw was too bad a sight to see. A truck, you know when a truck is trying to offload, they pull up like this. I don't know whatever that truck's business was under the Ijesha bridge, pedestrian bridge. But that was where the truck pulled up, and the truck already destroyed the pedestrian bridge as at this morning. He pushed the bridge up. So that's a pedestrian bridge that serves people from Amuodofin trying to cross to Surulere every day. I have used that truck all my life, living between both local governments. And I did not understand how that truck this morning, because now one thing is that if we call the emergency number to call the authorities, either LASMA to come and control traffic under that bridge because it's risky for people to continue to drive under the bridge, or come and cordon up, that's the authority that can do that. In the meantime, and the numbers are not connecting. I didn't bother trying this morning because of my last experience. I said I was going to use the platform since I was on the show to talk about it. The scene is still there. Anybody passing there would see that truck, that situation is still there. So. And they will not come. Who gets the truck who just abused and destroyed public infrastructure to pay? Somebody has to pay for that damage. That bridge has been there. You cannot just push that burden to government. Somebody who's reckless, who's caused that, must pay something. Even some accidents are criminal, and they can try them for that. So who would arrest? So if you're calling the number of government and it's not going.
So accidents have, so this thing is multifaceted in the sense that there's so many angles to this. So this truck hits these two boys. Now, the first thing somebody does is start burning down the truck. Of course, the man fled, or the driver automatically fled. That also angered the youth because they couldn't catch the boy. If they had caught him, they would have killed him. That in itself. So who do we hold responsible for this kind of situation?
Okay, so I understand, now I can say personally, I understand how when an accident happens and the person who caused it, when you see the person, you'll be upset. I told you about a few weeks ago, I experienced an accident that happened right in front of me. And it happened partly because of the reckless driving of the driver. Something had maybe the night before falling off these trucks. I don't know if it was cement, but a huge bag on the bridge, where the bridge, turns like this, bends. This bus driver, with children inside, human beings going to walk to school, went really fast, took that bend really fast, and then that thing was on the bridge. So he got on it and flipped over. If not for the railings, they would have gone over the bridge. By the time they came out, the first person to come out of that bus was the driver. Nothing was wrong with him. I remember I was upset to see all the other people, with different levels of wounds. The small child I was talking about, that half his face was gone. And yet, this driver that caused the accident came out, and he was thanking God. And I remember I was so upset. I'm like, why is he the one that gets away without any wounds on his body? And this innocent child, and innocent children, arms gone, face gone, So I understand how people get upset. But we need to know how to channel this anger. We need to know who to call. So I was on that bridge calling 112 many times. I kept dialing. I thought something was wrong with my phone, tried the other phone. Nothing happened. I had to even call the producer. Thankfully, some Nigerians were kind enough. They started taking people away. But there were so many people that were also just taking pictures, taking videos. There were military men in military cars that passed that scene and did not stop to pick up anyone. And I wish, at that point, I wish that there was an emergency service that showed up on time. So we need to talk about government. I know you always say, we the people. We the people came out that day. They were able to help. But if government was there, if 112 worked, the emergency services would have appeared. There would have been ambulances there giving some sort of relief. My car, there was lots of blood in my car because I had to take people into my car. They were bleeding all over. And I thought, what if they needed some sort of drip? What if they needed immediate medicine to help calm them down? What I also noticed that all of them in America kept screaming and screaming. They couldn't stop. I had to, calm them down. Don't worry, you're safe now, you're safe now. That is the job that an emergency service would have been able to do. But also, secondly, I remember when I was growing up, on TV, once the TV comes on, there's this show that used to show first aid that you could do at home, workplace, and things like that. And if we can have programs like that to make it, to teach Nigerians what to do when you come across, because we were just all trying to save these children. People were dragging them out of the car. That little boy was under a seat. They had to take him out. we need our emergency services to work, simple and short. And on that day, there wasn't a lot of traffic that they wouldn't have been able to make, but we could not reach them. So if people don't know who to go to, if people don't see who is meant to attend to things like that, they take measures, these sort of measures. And so the fault falls on both government and the people in this case.
Let me go on a break. Let that sink in. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So before the break, Mariam took us through an experience that obviously was traumatizing, not just for her, for the children and those who were experiencing that accident. But it goes back to the question, what do we do in times of emergency? You know, Nigerians are currently quite frustrated. Everybody's angry. There's no fuel. There's no electricity. You know, bills are up. And when you see something like this, like all the anger of no fuel, no gen, nothing, you just compound it and then just decide to burn down the truck, or even you don't even face the reality of what's going on, or you're just exerting that anger at that moment, you know. And you think to yourself, where do we go from here, YK?
I would like us to talk to ourselves first. Before I go into where we go from here, I would like us to talk to ourselves, because we do the wrong thing and we think that it is just by begging. Just say, I'm sorry. And when you, the person that's receiving the wrong thing, to react. Hey, why Shebi they begged you? It's not about Shebi they begged me. It's about, if we don't start to do the right thing in this country, we are not going to go anywhere. You see, I don't know about this Okada that happened yesterday, but I have seen Okadas on the express going in the wrong direction.
Yes.
Now, if that Okada, because one of the accounts in the papers was that the Okada was going in the wrong direction, I don't know if it's true. But if that is true, the truck was not at fault. It was the Okada, and it cost him his life and the passenger's life.
Yes. That's the truth.
And if you get annoyed, they will say, Shebi they begged you. It's not about Shebi. Let us start to do the right thing.
Yes.
Let us start to talk to ourselves. That is number one.
That's truth.
Now, number two, the solution is not going to go and burn down anything. Now, you know what started the French Revolution? I'm sure you know what. It was a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
It was
They
a
don't
loaf
have
of bread. That bread wants to go on strike now. They said to the king, the people are hungry. And the king said, let them eat cake.
The queen.
People want bread. And the king said, let them eat cake. So that was what started the revolution. The revolution in Tunisia, this our own generation, was something like that too. So we are now at that, or we're on the precipice. You know, where if we don't take time, so our government, they should not listen to us. Start listening to the people, because what happened yesterday could have escalated into a full-blown...
Absolutely. Revolution. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because they're running into a private property. They said that the policemen ran into the Lingaza building. They had to close the gates to them. But some said the police were shooting. We don't know how true that is. Some said that, there's so many different accounts. But one of the ones I'd like us to stay on, harp on, is this emergency services. There was a time that Lagos State government had a huge campaign on this 112 and 767, I think. They kept saying,
was here.
Yes, he came on the show.
And he insisted the works.
We could even call the number on the show that day. I remember that day.
That was the first time.
In the early days.
After.
So what happened to it? Why are they still effective? Are they still working? I know that the rescue place in Lekki 1 the Admiralty.
They had
one there.
Ambulances
So
at strategic
different places.
points.
So what happened to these things?
Now,
You have
when you
these
drive past there, you don't see
laudable things you put together, and eventually it's not sustained.
The maintenance culture. It's the maintenance culture. So we need to keep that maintenance. We have to train ourselves or retrain ourselves, because you can't start something so good and then it just dies. You have to keep telling people. You have to look. You go to whoever the boss of that service is. If I call and they don't pick it, I will go there. I will fire everybody.
Yes,
I agree.
and put serious people.
Everybody, and we employ people. And I will tell you that this is what happened to the last set. So if you like,
you sit up.
But the only way you can go back and fire is make sure that the lines are working. If they are complaining to you, these lines are not working, you need to do things, and you don't put those things in place. You can't. You don't have the moral justification to go back and fire them.
It is not. So it starts from the top, and that's why I'm always saying it starts from the top.
But okay, there's a serious part that we must address. The part of the Okada riders always right when they hit a car. Even if they are on the right
it's a major
side,
issue,
even if they are not on a one-way, if they run into your car, you don't chop the same. You must. This is narrated how she had to go and eventually even had to treat and pay for someone.
Like the whole lot of them come together.
They are the only innocent people in a traffic accident.
Yes, and here they are the ones that take
Friday on my way home, one had a motorbike and we were all in serious traffic in Satellite Town. The trucks are taking over. And the moment I saw an escape, I turned and I was going. And this one was coming from far and he almost ran into me. I swerved back and he turned and said, "Hey, you want to kill me? You want to kill me?" I said, "You too, you want to kill me?" I did the person not fit die inside car. The way you rode this bicycle, I said, "No, you're a wicked man." I said, "You too, you're a wicked man." Because it's like the traffic laws are made to only support you guys.
And even
we're reckless.
But you see,
most
how
of
do we
these
solve
boys
this problem?
that ride these bikes are uneducated.
Yes.
And unexposed. Unruly. They do not even understand how traffic works. And they feel that the best way to protect themselves is when they have all their gangs and they come against you. So we need to, if we must have them on the road, we need to train them. If they don't go to school, we need to find a way. If you want to have your bike on the road, you must go through a 4-week training course on how to, before you get, and if you're first taking,
Mariam, you'll be shocked that many of these chairmen of these communities actually do train some of these boys. If you speak to, there are some areas that may not, but if you speak to some of these Okada riders in certain areas, they organize training for them. There's one thing to train you, and that thing to take the training. The truth is that many of them come out from different parts of the country and just start automatically. But there are some people that actually ensure they register. But you see, the truth is that we, the people, also abuse it. That's the truth.
No, if you are registered, you must have a uniform. If you don't have a uniform, then we're able to report you and say this is an unregistered bike. You must be registered. If you're to get registered, you must go through that training course. That's how we have to see it. And if you're able to collect money from them, taxes from them, every time they're on the road, then you should be able to bring them together and sit them down somewhere and train them. Nigeria, see, the problem of out-of-school children, when we say out-of-school children, it's just not a number. This is what it means, that we'll have some of them on bikes driving against traffic and causing accidents. Out-of-school children means no education, no exposure, and if we don't do something about training and educating our young ones.
Let me take this call from Michael. Michael, are you there?
Hello.
Good morning, Michael. You're live. Go ahead, please.
Hello.
You're live. Go ahead, please. You're listening to the TV. Hello. It's delayed. Nima, go ahead, please.
So I wanted to just quickly remind us the only people who did training for their bike men, the alien bikes, they had, you know them. And then Lagos issued a no Okada rule and cancelled all of these bikes. But now we are in a situation where we don't even have data or even the possibility of training anybody. We are in a forest. In fact, a jungle now with the Okada riders and the way they operate in Lagos.
I had an opportunity to speak to one of these associations, and one of their chairmen, I'm not sure it was a chairman or something, but he spoke very well. And he says that many of these bikes, they actually come in, and maybe now training doesn't mean they show you how to ride the bikes. Training that they teach you on all the traffic laws, the road signs, what this means, stop here. They actually go through that. There's one thing for them to train you, there's another thing for you to do it. So I know that we always assume they don't know, but it's not true. Many of them know, but they choose just not to adhere to it because there's nobody enforcing. That's the real issue. Enforcement is a problem.
On this seat, that I know better about this situation than you're saying. And I know for a fact that when they come in with the bikes and they
depends on the area you're talking about. Maybe your area.
The majority of areas in this Lagos, I'm saying it with all sense of responsibility here. They come in with their bikes and enter road the next day, and they do anything. The person that is telling you, I know some of them, they are chairpersons. They are more educated than anybody. But even these people you are talking to, they are not people you can even train. There's a language barrier, first of all. You then have to find someone who can communicate with them in that language to train them. And it's a different thing for the person to be saying, I hear you, and be taking the training.
Yes.
So, I'm telling you with all sense of responsibility sitting here, because I do not want to name names, that they do not get any training.
Okay, let me take this call.
They don't stop at traffic lights.
They don't understand anything.
Let me take this call.
Michael,
are you there?
They say they have the right to do because they
lost the call.
And then the second part, you're on a bike and it's taking one way, against traffic and on the express, and you're on the bike, and you allow it to happen. That's another thing I don't understand. When I used to get on bikes, I used to pinch them, slap some of them back of their heads. Don't take me through this path. Don't drive me like that. So you have to also protect yourself. And it also happens with cars, where you have drivers just driving recklessly, and you're right there in front, just looking at the driver. I used to always speak up then. We must speak up, must protect our lives.
We have hierarchies. The Okada riders, the Marwa drivers,
then the
Danfo drivers.
Yeah.
Trailers.
One. I agree with you.
We have to wrap up on this, unfortunately. Just like we said, listen, we can't continue like this. There are different angles to this story. We're still going back to the fact that emergency services need to work better. The bike officers, the bike riders need to be properly trained on the roads to know what to do and what not to do. And also the people, the bystanders, need proper training on what to do in emergency. Abroad is just to make a phone call. Here, our phone calls for something it doesn't go through. So emergency service is extremely important for us to get right. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we have to move on to other topics. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So according to reports, Nigerian airline operators have threatened to shut down their operations today if there is no reduction in the price of aviation fuel, popularly called Jet A1. Join us on the show right now to discuss more of this is Chief Executive Officer of United Airlines, Mr. Obiora Okonkwo. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. Right, so we know Jet A has increased astronomically in the last few weeks. Based on the reports I read, it was like if they used to pay about 130 naira or so, and then you're talking almost 700 to the liter. And many of the operators are complaining that they cannot continue like this. But how do you think the government can help you, especially because this problem is not necessarily caused by the Nigerian government? It's a global problem. So how do you think the government can assist you in this situation?
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here. Let me put the record straight. The operators are not threatening to shut down.
Okay.
But I just bring in before the public to the government that if they have to continue operations at the current rate of the aviation fuel, then it will be so much of a burden and unaffordable to an average traveler, because today air travel is no more a luxury, it is a necessity. So we felt that when these tickets are so high, then probably it will be too much for travelers to embark on. and then the operators will have no passengers to carry, and then flying empty seats is too much of a cost, and the people airlines. And as a matter of fact, the rate which the tickets are sold today is being subsidized by the airline. I'm realizing that this is an essential and critical sector. We're just bringing to the notice of the government that something could be done to alleviate the burden from the passengers, especially not say that it's a nation, it's a global phenomenon, it's a global problem. Recall that government, one way or the other, supplies fuel for the motor vehicle fuel, and the reason because if sold at the official prices will be a big burden to, and it will also have a multiplier effect on the other sectors of the economy.
Can't you ask a follow-up question? Yes.
So these are really the problems that we have. So it's not like a threat, it's the reality and the fact brought before the government. You asked a question what the government can do.
Unfortunately, it's hard to hear you. We can't hear you properly, so we couldn't get the crux of what you're saying. I had to go on a break. When we come back, we'll try to resolve the technical issues. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We still have with us the Chief Executive Officer, United Airlines, Mr. Obiora Okonkwo. Sir, are you there? Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Fantastic.
Okay,
So it's much
right.
better now. So just in a nutshell, tell us exactly what you said before concerning what the federal government can do, especially at this time, knowing that the problem isn't local. It's more of a global problem.
Well, like I was saying, I don't know how much you heard me. The airline operators of Nigeria did not issue no threats to the government or anybody, but we are just trying to bring to the public notice and to the government the situation we have found ourselves now due to the global energy crisis. And this situation is that if the airlines should be able to sell tickets, applying the cost of aviation fuel as it is today, probably the minimum ticket economy any passenger could be paying for is 150,000 naira.
Wow.
That's just the reality. Because when aviation fuel moves from 119 naira to now going to 650 to 700 naira, it is just very, very astronomical increase. And it constitutes about 30 to 70% of operational costs, depending on how many number of passengers you have on board. So we, knowing that, yes, it's a deregulated industry, commercial airline operators, it's a private business, and then the fuel marketers, the private business. But considering that the Nigerian population are already going through a lot, we felt that it is important that we bring to the notice of the government that this should be an additional burden, especially realizing that aviation sector is a very critical and an essential sector.
Right.
Yes.
It is the engine of economic activities in Nigeria.
Right.
If
Okay.
any one single day the airlines do not fly, you will find out that a whole lot of things will be affected nationwide.
All right. Let me get a few more
This is
questions
a
in for you.
sector
Because
that
of
is
time.
about.
So your members
So
met.
for that reason,
Can you hear me, sir?
so in the process, we presented to the government that this is the true situation. And as we, the operators, continue to subsidize the ticket at the ongoing rate, that we could not afford to do that beyond this period of 3 days, which you are mentioning. So that is really what it is. It was not a threat.
Okay.
And for that reason, we asked if there's anything they could do to intervene to reduce the burden on the passengers and obviously continue to support the economic activities going around the nation. So that is what happened.
All right. Great. Great.
So so your members have met with the MD of the Nigerian NNPC, Mele Kyari, to demand that you are allowed to source the aviation fuel yourself. Do you think this is practical, considering that, you know, it's the same source? NNPC can as well continue to source for you, or do you think that they are incapable of doing that for you? In that case, if you continue and you want to do it yourself, what about the extra cost? How can you assure that the quality of what you get is the right quality, not the type that has been adulterated?
Okay, thank you very much. That is very simple. I can inform you that that request for AON to be granted a license to import their own aviation fuel was granted automatically. We have been given all assurances that it's given immediately. We got that that grant just on the spot, and the process is going on. And I can also tell you that the traveling public do not have to worry so much, because government realizes the importance of this sector, and there have been a series of engagements from the National Assembly to the executive to NNPC with the marketers, oil marketers and all that. A whole lot of engagements are going on. And I think that at the end of today, the outcome of those engagements will start reflecting on the operations. So it is really not anything to panic about, but it is important for us as operators to let the public know what's going on. Right. Because it's coming with a lot of flight cancellations, a lot of delays, and we've been very, very committed to service efficiency. That's why you may have read recently in the press that we had come together to form what we call a Spring Alliance. Yeah, for every single thing that is done in this industry, it will bear the passengers' comfort and convenience at heart. So this is what we are trying to do. We felt we should bring it to the public. So there's really no need to panic. Okay,
but that's the quality of the aviation fuel you get.
That's the question.
Who can verify the quality? Who will vet it?
Hello,
well,
sir.
Come again, I didn't get that question.
We're trying to avoid adulterated products. If you are sourcing your aviation fuel yourself, who will vet it and ensure that you get the right quality?
No. It will be subjected to the regulations, and I think that that should not be a problem. As a matter of fact, we the operators, should be more careful with the source of our fuel, because if you make any mistake and any of your engine is affected, you're talking about minimum of $4 million for one engine. If it's two at a time, you put it at $10 million. So we think that the market source is very clear, and we will not have any doubt that we know where to get it, and we know how to ensure that the quality is correct. There are international standards and parameters that must have to be followed. And obviously, the regulatory agency in Nigeria is still there to ensure that anything that comes in the standard. So we don't have any problem about that. But don't forget also, for the records, it's not only NNPC that imports this aviation fuel. It is deregulated, and there are a whole lot of other private importers who import directly. So it is really not like we're competing with NNPC. We just want to be given one license, just like so many other importers are doing. So that's what it is.
Okay. Although you say that most of the issues are being resolved, so I don't know if my question will be relevant now, but I would like to know, in the papers a few days ago, some airlines complained that international airlines, some local airlines complained that international airlines were giving preferences for this aviation fuel now that there's a scarcity. Is that still the case? And is this something that you're discussing now? And what are the measures that it's taking to make sure that even local airlines get aviation fuel as it comes during the scarcity?
Well, yes. I can assure you that NNPC had intervened directly, and they have promised to mop up and make available a couple of millions of liters of aviation fuel daily for operators. I just had a call a few minutes ago informing us that all is set for it, and that probably we'll start assessing it any minute from now as an interim measure for the next 3 days. That will be special allocation with special rate, while other meetings and discussions are going on at different levels, from the presidency to the Minister of Aviation to the National Assembly.
Right.
We're very happy. All the airline CEOs are in town in Abuja now. Like yesterday, we had 4 meetings. Today, we're having another 5 meetings. I think this is the way to go. We're happy with the quick response of the government. And I think that when all these agreements and understanding are done, probably both the foreign airlines and the local operators will have enough in the interim while we look at the long-term solution to it. So the bottom line is that we're very happy with the response, because all airline operators and investors, we are responsible citizens. We are very, very patriotic. And we felt that the best way is to engage all the stakeholders in the industry and the sector to find a lasting solution. That's what we're doing.
So we have to wrap up now, sir. I want to be sure that our viewers, get the crux of what you're saying. So what you're saying so far is that this issue with the aviation fuel scarcity is under control. The government has intervened, and the people therefore should have access to travel. I mean, right now there was a bit of delay here and there. Based on your Spring Alliance, if you get to the airport and your flight is delayed, there's a possibility you catch another flight of amongst the alliance, the airlines within the alliance. You can catch somebody else's flight. And secondly, the cost of flights, we know it has increased. Will it come back down to normal once these meetings are done and we have the fuel back to normal? When things go up in Nigeria, it doesn't usually come back down. So will it come back to the normal price people are used to? Could you just clarify before we wrap up?
Well, for the records, the latest base price was raised at when aviation fuel was 380 naira. 380 naira. So if you have to calculate the base price of economy ticket for one-on-one flights today in Nigeria, you should be talking about over 100,000 naira. So don't forget that it's not only aviation fuel that is a factor. We're still dealing with foreign exchange issue. So it's until that is resolved, and probably, who knows, in the international market, the oil price might still come down because it moved from 60, 70 to 130 for the last 2 days. It might come down a little bit. So all these things will eventually determine the final cost of ticket. But as of travel, surely you can comfortably travel for this weekend. And like you rightly asked, if you get to the airport, within this alliance, the companies will be able to come together and find a solution if there are delays. The airlines obviously are expected to reduce probably their flight schedules, but working together will still meet the passengers' demand. But there is nothing to worry about. The intervention of government is very rapid, it's very prompt, and it's very apt.
Good to
know. We
know.
are hoping that the result will be felt in the nearest possible time, which I think by the end of the day. So the good thing is that government has shown a listening ear.
Fantastic.
All the stakeholders have been brought to the table. This is the first time in the industry you see this happening. So I give very great credit to leaders of AON who are directing this process. And
Fantastic. All right, so we're happy to know that. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for giving us that updates concerning the airline. So there you have it. Things are under control, and hopefully, doesn't mean you won't pay premium, because they're obviously getting the fuel premium for now. So if you have to travel, yes, but at least you will travel. This is the most important thing. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll go to the last topic of the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So recently, there was a video that went viral about a pastor, a man of God, a general overseer, I read, who was arrested at the airport, and he was en route to Kenya, and he had 0.0 kg of illicit drugs on him. Now, after that arrest happened, other videos of him came out where he was actually preaching in church, and people were falling under the anointing, and people seemed to be going to him for prayers, and he seemed to be like a miracle-working type of pastor. And the video obviously went viral, because so that then raised questions of the gullibility of Nigerians, how gullible we are in times when it comes to things of religion, how many of the fake pastors we have out there, how many more of them are like this. How many more of them? Some others are saying that, well, it's just 0.04 kg. What's the big deal? Why are we making a lot of noise about it? That, hey, but it's still illicit drugs, right? But we're going to be focused now on how it seems that many of these religious practices have blinded some of us from logical thinking and skillful planning, and how our value system have seemed to have eluded us. So joining us on the show to discuss this is an oil and gas executive, entrepreneur, pastor, and founder of the youth empowerment platform CrossPoint Innovate. Is Mr. Pastor Ladi Shoyombo. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
You can join the conversation on 08127053687, 09139076948. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweet. All right, so this video came out, and obviously many people obviously were laughing, and those who were already anti-religion took this as an opportunity to condemn the church, which many of us weren't really happy about. I would say I wasn't happy about. But the truth is, there are many people who are gullible. There are many people who go seeking for help within some of these places called churches. But many of them obviously are not there because of God. They are there for what they need.
Yes.
So how do we begin to change the tide? Because I, for one, Murayo Afolabi Brown, I have fallen under the anointing. I have. It's not fake. Me, Murayo. I don't know about anybody else.
That's right.
I have. I felt light. I felt heaviness. I mean, in my head I was light, but I felt a presence around me, and I found myself on the floor. So yes, I have fallen. And you can fall for me.
Yeah.
You can then clarify for us if it's true. But when you see these kind of things, you know, I wonder, how do we therefore draw the line between real and fake going forward?
Right, so I believe strongly the primary way God changes our lives is by changing our mind. So, you know, a lot of times when you have a revival, as Christians say, you know, revival, you are revived with a change in your emotions, without a change in your mindset. So it's okay you fall down. So, but when you fall down, have you changed your mindset? Has your perspective changed? Do you have a different view? Because I believe that, you know, when we change belief systems, or when our belief systems are right, then we can effect proper change within our society. So, yes, I think the balance from a perspective of, okay, I fall under the anointing, I have spiritual experiences. After that, you know, what next? You know, when I get up from that anointing, right? Do I have a different view concerning my problem? Do I have a different view concerning how I go about my business? Do I have a different idea to solve certain challenges that I see? So I believe that should be something paramount for us.
Okay, because we are also talking about this pastor who seemed to be powerful in church and yet a sinner and a lawbreaker.
That's right.
And many times when men of God, pastors, are caught in a sin or a crime, a lot of people will say separate his anointing from his sin or separate it from his crime, or it should not stop you from believing in him or going to his church because he's two different things. He's also a pastor as well as human.
That's right.
And now the question is it common sense, therefore, and being a good Christian, is it common sense to still go to someone like that, or would it be better sense to disassociate yourself from a pastor like that and look for someone who is, who represents God on
properly?
All
I mean, one of the things Jesus and in the Bible it says, by their fruits you shall know them, right? And there is the works of righteousness. So in a way, I know people say separated, but at the same time, we have to, it says, by this shall men know you are my disciples, right? Fruit. So there are fruits that we need to see. Then also, I think I still need to go back to the teachings, because our religious spaces is where most times the mindset of people are framed, their thinking patterns, their belief systems. And we don't just attract what we like, we attract who we are. And who we are is the sum total of those belief systems. So if every time you go to church, the kinds of teachings you hear maybe drive you into covetousness, then it's very easy to see that, this kind of person is out of line. Because in his teachings, his mindset will be revealed.
You have gotten us to where, where you want to go?
Go ahead now.
Where we are going. So this man in the video said he was carrying what he wanted to consume. That was his defense to the NDLA. He said he was going to, it's for his personal use. That was what he was saying. Yes. And because we now see a lot of humanness in these so-called men of God. Yes. People will now tell you separate the two. We are human first, and and all of that. How exactly does a person become a man to be revered as a man of God? Is that not? Are you supposed to be at the level of everybody able to sin? Are you not supposed to be at a level that you have above everybody before you can be called such a person? Okay. And then when people come to you, can you excuse this kind of behavior? Because then this happens a lot of times. People start to excuse. They remind us first of their weaknesses.
That's right. Yes. There are certain standards if you're required to be in the office of a pastor or a religious leader. However, that doesn't mean that the religious leader doesn't have flaws, because, we are still in the world, we still have flesh. So somehow we have to look at the concept of, the severities to a certain extent, right? There is, when someone is outrightly, living and lascivious and, just living in sin, compared to someone who has mistakes and has weaknesses that he has accepted that he's working on. So many times, I think it's still the responsibility, we have it in the Bible of, a certain kind of church group, that no matter what it is, they have that responsibility to build their own relationship with God and be able to, test, and know whether this kind of place is where I want to, grow spiritually and be planted in. So there is a responsibility within ourselves too.
Okay, because I've not heard. I had two experiences with pastors that they were not, I don't know.
Their lifestyle.
You couldn't even tell by their lifestyle because they pretended you don't know that they're like that. First of all, there was a pastor in Abuja that came and collected shrine boys, paid all of them 10,000 to come to his church in Abuja, took them by transport and promised, what he did was promise to pay their transport back to Lagos. Yeah. But they should go there. Now, what we are seeing this pastor doing, telling them, okay, when I touch you, you fall down. So, and when those ones got there, they fell down where they are
10,000 naira was okay.
They showed like what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
Now, nobody is going to know that this had transpired. We only heard because they didn't pay their transport back. So they came back to Lagos complaining and they were very bitter. Some people had accidents and everything on the way back. So they were very bitter. That was one. There was another one that worked with my father. He was a pastor. His father-in-law owned a church in Benin.
Yeah.
He left the church to come to my father, but left my father to go back to the church. Yeah. I think when my father didn't pay him, he went back to the church. Yeah. While he was with my father, he used to tell us how, before he goes on to the pulpit, he shook his ogogoro like this. In fact, his cup like this, that was water, was ogogoro. When he did like this, I'm saying, everybody was believing him. Don't look at me like that. I'm telling you a true story. So I used to look at this guy because the same style he used in the church was using on my father. He was deceiving my father. And this guy is dishonest. He's a dishonest person.
And he's a pastor.
And he's a pastor. How are we? They don't write dishonesty on the face.
That's right. So how
are we going to decipher?
How does that kind of person be a pastor? That's the point.
Well, you know, there's the gifts of God, and the gifts of God somehow are without repentance. So sometimes, you know, some of them even start well, right? Then over the years, then certain things and the cares and the, you know, pleasures of life can drift you. So sometimes a pastor, the gift of God will still...
That one, it was your Gogoro that made him talk.
It was your Gogoro
that made him talk. It wasn't that he was falling by the wayside. It was that was helping his
whole sermon. Yeah, obviously, there are people that outrightly from the onset, they never knew God, right? They just came into the whole thing with a different motive, right? Okay. But at the same time, there are people who had good motives that also fall on the wayside. Then there are certain people who is just a matter of weaknesses. That they see.
Is it not?
Let me pause you for a second, Eva, because there's an issue I want us to come into. Because I mean, I know you're also into youth empowerment.
That's right.
And the fact that a lot of young people are in these churches. Many of these churches. I mean, you don't see people like mature people going, having these kind of experiences because we're past a certain level. So a lot of young people have questions. They have needs. They have desires. And when they look up to men like this, sometimes like that critical thinking is suspended. So how does religion stop us from thinking critically, analyzing the situation? That, okay, is this from God? Is this true? Is this real? How do we, as young people, begin to think critically when we go to church?
Yeah, so I think the pandemic shook everybody a little bit because now you couldn't go to the church and get your pastor to lay hands on you. You couldn't probably get an anointed bottle. Whatever thing that you have attached yourself with that you feel gives you the success you desire. So people started to analyze, okay, some people, because of their financial challenges during that lockdown, maybe couldn't give tithes or give as much. And they realized that, okay, their fundamental beliefs were now challenged to say, okay, why, and that is why it was a little bit hard to get people back into church because, they started to, I was doing okay, I didn't die. And I didn't pray as much, I didn't use the oil. So what is it that I need to, what is really this whole thing about? And that is when personal relationship with God, began to grow within a lot of spheres. And also, I think that for a very long time, a misinterpretation of God's character, a misinterpretation of who God is, has actually led people to live a life of religiosity and has shut up their brain because God's wisdom is supernaturally derived, but it has to still be naturally applied. So a lot of times what people think is that God will not do for you what he has empowered you to do for yourself. So the concept in which people have, put everything on God and absolve themselves from their own responsibilities has led people to, these kinds of things, or the youths are not
So are you saying that those anointing oil, we should forget about it?
Well, I would say that there are different levels. As a babe, so when you are still a babe in Christ, or when you are still a young person growing, there are certain things that you are still allowable. But as you begin to grow and mature, you don't put your trust in things, right? You put your trust in God. So you don't have to lean on those things because, I mean, in certain situations where you forget your oil or you forget, how do you now address your certain situations? Because you believe you have the wisdom and you have the authority, and you can make yourself born.
You answered me well.
Thank you.
All right, let me take this call. Now come to Nima. Good morning. Are you there? Hello, you're live, Peter.
Drugs in the system. And this is an example. So we need not try and get emotional when we are their members or something. What is that? Is that? And we should be taking as that. Thank you.
Peter, we didn't get that. I think you were speaking before we connected, so we didn't hear what you said at all. Go ahead.
So yesterday on my way home, within the trade fair, you have to turn at the trade fair. I saw a young boy parked a bus, brought the entire works, a keyboard, all of that, and he started talking as if he was a pastor. The objective, of course, was to get a crowd.
Yes.
And so 2 people had already, I think they're part of the acting, started with him. People thought it was funny because he kept saying, like he was seeing into their past and in their future. So for me, a lot of acting go into these things. And then people, because of, we know the country is hard. We're looking for ways. And that's what some people say, religion is the opium of man. You need a distraction, something else to give you relief from this whole hard life. You know, something else to put your trust in, something else to just sort of put it there and leave it there so that you don't have to think about it.
That's right.
And, you know, how do you talk to your own members now, if you have young people in your congregation?
Yes.
How do you talk to them when they see things like this? Should they be going after the miracle? Because they push too much of this miracle,
That's
breakthrough, you have to get money and
Prayer,
all of that, instead of finding God.
Let's break it into 2.
Okay.
Get money. Miracles happen.
Yes.
Jesus himself performed miracles. So miracles do happen. So let's us separate it.
Morayo.
Miracles happen. I want him to address, do miracles happen today?
Let me say this.
Yes.
And I say this a lot in church, and I'll balance it. I believe God's best is not miracles. Let me explain. Miracles is divine intervention in crisis situations. So that means if you are living from miracle to miracle, you are living from crisis
to crisis.
So God will rather give you spiritual laws and natural laws you can work with. Now, every now and again, we need miracles, you know, just because of how we are living in a fallen world and all that. But however, that's not what you live by, right? You live by those spiritual laws and natural laws. Let me give an example. Now,
Just like
God appeared to Joseph. Joseph, the husband of Mary, they had Jesus. An angel, that is a supernatural being, appeared to Joseph and tells Joseph, you have to escape this night, right? Herod is going to kill you. You have to move immediately. Now, Joseph didn't call for an all-night prayer. He took his wife, entered a natural means of transportation, and escaped. And a divine purpose was fulfilled by natural actions. So that's why I said the wisdom of God can be supernaturally derived. It was an angel, quite all right, but there are still natural ways to
appear.
So this is my point that I thought Morayo wanted to. I believe in miracles. I have a miracle baby.
Wow.
I know what I went through. I know prayers get answered.
That's right.
But something had to be done. A bed rest had to take place.
Yes.
Some people lost their babies even though they did that.
That's right.
And I miraculously had mine.
That's right.
So that's a miracle.
Awesome.
I understand it clearly.
Okay.
Yeah.
The world we're living in now, Nigeria as it is today, we're talking about young people, drug use, kidnapping, ritualists, and we have men of God preaching up and down, calling our youth every day together. You have a youth empowerment program.
Yes.
Have we overused our miracle bank? What is happening? Why is it that what is happening in church or what is being preached in church is not reflected in our young people today?
Or is it because a lot of the pastors are...
crime, cannabis taking,
well, I mean, I think we need to go back to our messages. Because like I said, the messages we preach from our platforms frame the minds of people. And we need to preach messages that show the true character of God, because a lot of people are just living in fear and they say they are serving God. because it's just like during the pandemic where we had, or the COVID situation, and that when it was really high, Christians were fearful. So the question is, why were you fearful, or why are you fearful? If it is the end, you should be confident that your Father is coming. So a lot of people, or a lot of Christians, their religion is driven. A lot of people, their religion is driven by fear. God is going to hit me if I don't do this. So it's transactional. But the more you begin to understand the concept of relationship and the concept of union, then it's easy for you to go about your business with confidence, because there are two people. One is fearful, the other doesn't even know, about God or whatever, and is not living a fearful life. They are going for an interview.
Since you have so many churches, why are young people?
Yeah.
But
that's
see,
the question. Why
the real gospel
Yes.
is the Bible says the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Yes.
It doesn't change. But the real gospel is not palatable today. People like to listen to those nicely, dressed up messages.
Okay.
You can do it, you can make it happen. This love, these are what young people want to hear, because they want to believe that they don't have to go through the hard times. God is a miracle working God. Snap my finger and it will happen. By going to that office today, I mean, we see people that may have get a job. You go to get a job and you say, "My pastor said that you're going to give me this job today." So we just want those things happening. Is it that? How hard is it as a pastor for you to go back to the original message of the gospel? Is that what you do, or how do you combine it, or do we have just go back to what the original message is?
Well, what's the original message, please?
I think that
good news.
To different people, they have different messages.
Concept of the message.
But I mean, the gospel of Christ remains the gospel of Christ, and I believe strongly that God revealed Himself in Christ, and if you focus on that. And not, absolve yourself from certain responsibilities. Like, challenges come to everybody, right? There'll be challenges. God is not that person you meet and just all of a sudden all your challenges go away, right?
Pastor, what would you say that pastors are preaching today that's making our
This
young
salvation that they are preaching.
Is it success preaching? Is it
money,
that is making the young people think that there has to be another way apart from hard work and dedication and being resilient that gets them success?
I think critically as a pastor, I do not like the multiplication, sow seed, and everything will be all right gospel. Right? It especially when it's extremely preached. I believe in giving from a perspective of your responsibility. You're part of a family. I believe in giving as a sign of thanksgiving to God. But I don't believe in giving as a way of cajoling or trying to, provoke God. I don't really work with that, and I don't think that's the right way to look at it.
We have to wrap up. What are you working on? I know you're youth. You're into youth ministry, and what are you working on? How do you help young people out there?
All right. So I'm a petroleum engineer. I run an oil and gas firm. At the same time, I'm a pastor. So and you
don't do it by miracle.
No, I have a BSc and MS in petroleum engineering, and I have to study to get things done. Right? But what we do, which is what we have been pushing a lot with things like Crosspoint Innovate, is that we invite people and speakers and people who are doing well in their professional fields to come and train people. And we also do give out grants based on people pitching their ideas. And we give out grants to people so that they can, fulfill those dreams and ideas they have based on, their plans and their visions. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Any messages?
So
I'm happy to have met you.
Do you have people who have gone through this training program and you have seen a change in their lives? What have they gone on to do?
Well, I think the first, I myself am a testimony of that, because I had a mind shift, and before I felt God will solve all my problems, I had a balance, and I've been the progenitor of that. So many pastors in my church and pastors around us are people who are youth and have applied these things and are bringing out the best in their life. And we also have other people who do that.
How did you graduate to pastor?
Well, I've still not graduated fully, so...
I think what you mean, how did you become a pastor?
How did I become a pastor? It's been, I was a fellowship pastor while in Ghana, right? So that is when I became a pastor. Then we now established.
Were you divinely called, or you just decided?
Were you a good boy all through and then you became a pastor, or were you a bad boy that was called? You know, that sort of...
Okay, that kind of thing. Well, unfortunately for me, I've never been too bad, right? I've just had that simple life. But that, you know, passion for God really came more in school when I had a challenge. So it drew me to God, yeah, basically. And from there, it's been...
So God truly called you, not the people who say...
All right, that is all we can take on the show. I hope you learned a few things as we have. Have a great day. Why can you stop looking at me like that now?
How am I looking at you?
This
You guilty or afraid?
Stop looking at me. You have one look that I looking at, I don't understand.
Awesome.
You give it this day, Mikey. This is your before you die, you will give your life to Christ. This I have promised you that one. That one I have promised.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
I don't even know what I am.
You and I will enter heaven
I think you have followed
together.
that pastor to be high.
We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye for now.